A lot of this buildup, I think, has happened on this very show. What am I talking about? Take a look at this.
Somebody's going to get sparked out for sure. Let's go.
I'm being told right now, multiple sources telling me that the highly anticipated, much discussed grudge match between one Dustin Poirier and Michael Chandler is close to being finalized for that return card at MSG in November. Would you want to see that fight? Would you want to have that fight?
I have no interest in fighting Dustin, honestly. I also think I was completely disregarded and pushed aside whenever I came into the organization.
He's never beat anybody coming off of a win in the UFC, Ariel. He's been dropped in his last 3 fights. He's never beat somebody coming off of a win. And I'm not talking trash, I'm stating facts.
I kind of now want to really see that fight.
He completely disregarded me, completely, acted as though I didn't deserve to be where I was. And so maybe it's a little bit more of a personal issue.
Yeah. He was upset because somebody asked me something about him online, said Michael Chandler. And then he got upset but boy, he did his due diligence on his return fire because, man, that was good. That was good.
Is Dustin a draw?
There's a rivalry there, and this is a heated grudge match. I can't wait for this. I mean, this was the fight to make. Oh, yeah, there it is. Without further ado, let us say hello to one Iron Mike Chandler, who's kind enough to... How about that, Mike? Could we get some pay-per-view points for that? I mean, that's big-time stuff.
Hey, dude, we're doing promos now, huh, Ariel? Is that what we're doing?
I'm just trying to sell some fights. I'm just trying to get you guys paid.
That was good. I actually completely forgot about 99% of that stuff that was actually said. So good work. Kudos to you and your team.
I appreciate that. We're just trying to spread the word about the fight, get you guys paid. Very excited about this. By the way, and good to have you on. Good to talk to you. Hope all is well. Could I ask, why did it take so long to officially announce this? It felt like it was the worst kept secret in MMA.
I actually don't know. And I don't know if you've spoken to Dustin. I really don't know. I think, I think we've been talking about this fight. All of us have been talking about this fight. It seemed like the fight to make. Honestly, it's a fight that I've wanted since the beginning of me coming in and signing with the UFC. But obviously it has made a lot of sense over the last couple of months. And then obviously there's been a little bit of back and forth, and it finally got announced, and here we are.
Why did you want it since signing with the UFC?
Well, I just, I have a ton of respect for Dustin. But just because you have a ton of respect for a guy or like the way that he carries himself or thinks he's a consummate professional, you want to go out there and test yourself against the guys that are best in the sport. And he has been a perennial top guy, fought for the title numerous times, won the interim title. He's one of the guys who is the who's who of the lightweight division. And I wanted to come in, and I said it at the very beginning. I wanted to fight the toughest guys right away. Dustin Poirier fit that bill. Tony Ferguson fit that bill. Those were the two guys that we were, really trying to line ourselves up against when I first came in. And it ended up being Dan Hooker. And now here we are almost 2 years later. And I now just fought Tony Ferguson, and now I'm going to fight Dustin Poirier. So, got a ton of respect for him. He's tough. And anybody who knows me or has followed my career knows those are my favorite kind of guys to fight. I want to go out there and test myself against the toughest guys in the world. And that's why I signed with the UFC, and here we are.
How do you feel about this fight happening in New York as opposed to maybe the December pay-per-view in Las Vegas?
It's one of those things where they're always trying to shuffle things around. They're always trying to put the biggest fights and matching up the biggest names with a certain amount of fights that are available and fighters that are available. So, I've done a pretty good job of working extremely hard, doing what I said I was going to do, but also being a good employee. And it's worked out really well for me over the last 14 years. I wanted to fight in December. I made that public. I told the UFC that, but hey, if I got to come back 4 weeks earlier and then, I'll have the rest of the year to kind of heal up, and we'll know who the champion is at that point in time. And I'll know who I have my eyes set on come the first quarter next year.
Was it like a timing thing? Or I know some guys don't like fighting in New York. The taxes are a lot higher. Was it a financial? What was the reason for December over November?
Well, yeah, more timing. I did want an extra month. I did just adopt my second baby boy, April 19th. I fought May 7th. So it was like 20 days before. So I wanted to get some time with my new son, and also do my number one job, which is to be a father, not just to my new baby, but also my 5-year-old son, Hap, who also now just got thrown into the fire of being a big brother and also dealing with the ups and downs of having another child that we love underneath the household, So there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes from parenthood and fatherhood and those kind of things that are just honestly just more important than fighting. So if I had an extra month, it would have been great. But hey, fighting in November at Madison Square Garden, they love to bring out the big guns for Madison Square Garden. And they were adamant about putting me on that card. I know Dustin was wanting to fight much earlier than November. So it made sense, to check both of those boxes. And I obliged and said, okay, I'll do it in November. And here we go.
And by the way, I think you're in Florida now, right? Will you not see your family till November?
No, I will. I fly home every single weekend.
Oh, wow.
So I'm skipping this weekend because I just got down to Florida, and I'll be home every single weekend. So, it's like I said, some things are more important than fighting. I made a decision many years ago that, hey, if flying home every single weekend or taking my son here for a week or two here and there, if that ate away at my fight career or ate away at my ability to win fights, I was going to be able to accept that because my number one job and my number one pleasure in life is being a father and being a husband. So I fly home every single weekend, and it's worked out well so far. So we'll keep on doing it.
What are those Sundays like when you have to say goodbye for the week? Is that tough?
Yeah, it's more once I get into training camp, it's much better. Honestly, these last couple of days have been really tough. The last 2 days leading up to, me packing my bags and, eyes welling up with tears as I'm packing up my bag. My son comes home, starts asking more questions. He knows that I'm leaving. And then you get down here and, one of the saddest moments of my life is when I put that key in the door and I open up the door to this house that I own down here in Florida. It's great to have my own home, but it also kind of is a somber moment because here I am in solitude away from my favorite people in the world. But it's part of the sacrifices that must be made in order to be successful. And my wife is an absolute angel and gives me the leeway and the permission to continue to pursue this goal and these goals and these dreams. And I do as much as I possibly can to just be as present as I possibly can when I'm home, and then also as much as I can during training camps.
Is this personal for you, this fight?
No, it's not. I think I've made fights personal in the past, and it's never worked out really well for me. But truthfully, those I think those moments or those kind of relationships and scenarios warranted somewhat of a personal beef, if you will. I really honestly have nothing against Dustin. Would I have taken the fight against Dustin had he been in Bellator for however many years and then came over and I was a top 5 guy? Would I have fought him? I probably would have, but I can't say for certain that I would. Would I have said the same things that he did about me? Possibly, if I was thinking that I had cut my teeth in the same organization, in the biggest organization in the world for 15 years, like he did. So I can't put myself in his shoes, but it's not personal. I think people want it to be personal. He and I will, as we always do, go out there, bite down on our mouthpieces, and get into a hard-fought scrap, and it will be entertaining. And like Dustin said, someone's most likely getting sparked out. So we'll see what happens.
The crazy thing is, just knowing both of you, I feel like in an alternate universe, you would be really good friends. Like you're actually quite similar. Family guys, you love your family. Like it's just your identity. You do a lot for your communities. You're philanthropic. Like I actually feel like you have a lot more in common than you don't. But maybe because you're so similar, that's why you don't get along. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean that could be a possibility. I do think, like I said, you heard me at the top of the show. Why I am excited about this fight and why I wanted to fight Dustin. It wasn't because I had anything against him. I want to compete against the best guys in the world in and outside of the octagon. And Dustin fits that bill. He is, I think that could be a possibility, but definitely at least up until November 12th. And who knows, you might be able to throw a rematch in there down the line. We'll see. But until then, we will remain adversaries, not necessarily enemies, but adversaries.
What happened in July at that event, July 4th weekend? Gilbert Burns, of all people, captured it on camera. What happened there?
Gilbert Burns is trying to take your job. Yeah. The best MMA journalist on the planet, Gilbert Burns. No, man, I spoke about it at the press conference. Essentially, I came down there, was walking in front of the barricade, heard someone screaming in my direction, looked over, it was him, and we had, we exchanged some words. But I think that's, I think that's in the past. I think that's something that, Dustin has spoken about. He said, hey, I'm not going to talk trash on social media. I'm going to go out there and say something to a guy's face. And he had a moment to say it to my face. And he said what he said. And I said, all right, dude, cool. I'll see you when we fight, if we fight. At that point in time, I wasn't necessarily interested in fighting Dustin. I was waiting to see when Conor was coming back, what that was looking like. Cause obviously I think I'm, one of the guys who's in the front running for that fight, because it would be such a big, exciting fight. So, but obviously the cards fell where they are. And now we get to look forward to Madison Square Garden, November 12th.
Was there a point where they were like, all right, we are going to try to make this Conor fight, and then it's very clear that he's not coming back probably this year. He's not in the cards at all. And you were bummed about it? Like, did you get your hopes up that you would be fighting him, and now, you never know what's going to happen. It's now on the back burner.
Yeah. I mean, I've said this numerous times too, where it's, you never get your hopes up for a Conor fight with the landscape of mixed martial arts and where Conor is, and his last couple of fights, obviously coming off of a really bad injury, and also him earning the right to pick and choose when and where he fights and how often he fights. And, we saw him, he took the Roadhouse remake position as one of the actors there. So he's got the world at his fingertips in a lot of different ways. So I'm over here very much focused on things outside of the cage and building businesses and being a part of businesses and building my life to provide for my family. But my number one way that I do that is mixed martial arts. For him, I don't know if that's actually the case. So he's got a ton of options. So I didn't really get too high on it. Didn't really put my faith in that fight actually happening, even though there was some good momentum, and there still is some good momentum. But I still got my sights set on becoming world champion. I think I beat Dustin November 12th. I think I'm the next guy in line. I fight Islam or Oliveira first quarter of next year or summer of next year, whenever that fight materializes, and I'm your world champion by middle of next year.
Who do you think wins that fight?
I think Charles wins that fight. I
Wow.
think it's crazy that Islam is a favorite. I would say aside from Charles Oliveira not making weight in the last fight, which was obviously unprofessional. I think even he would admit that, and it's not indicative of champion, the way a champion carries himself. It's tough to make weight at times, and he missed it. But aside from that, man, the guy has looked he's looked very, very good finishing guys. His hands have come a long way, and just his overall confidence, the overall confidence that Charles Oliveira has now compared to, a couple of years ago when he was, as I've said before, somewhat of looking at becoming somewhat of a journeyman, up and down, could not be relied upon to have it put together and string together good performances. He has now turned that ship, righted that ship and turned it around. And he's our champion. Well, not technically our champion, but he's in everybody's eyes, our champion for a reason. I think he goes out there and beats Islam handedly.
So, all right. So let's say he wins, and let's say you win, and now it's March, April, whatever. And they say, all right, we got good news. Conor is back and he wants to fight you, or you're getting this title fight, this rematch. Which are you picking first?
That's a hard question, but I fight for the title.
Really?
Win the title. My number.
Is there more money to be made from Conor?
Yeah, probably. But I started this journey in 2009. I fell short of becoming a national champion in wrestling at Mizzou. Obviously, I was a multiple-time Bellator champion, but I was never the number one guy in the world. I go out there, I win the UFC title. I'm the number one guy in the world. I can rest my head on my pillow for the rest of my life knowing that I was a champion, knowing that I've always put it on the line. I've always acted and treated this like a profession and always stayed disciplined, but have never been the number one guy in the world. I want to become the number one guy in the world, and that's my ultimate goal. And I do think that's going to happen. And I think that's in the cards for me. And then I fight Conor after that, and it's an even bigger show.
So you would be okay with giving him a title fight, even though, maybe from a meritocracy standpoint, as of late, he doesn't have the wins to back that up.
That's never up to me, obviously.
Yeah. But you'd be the champ in this scenario. You're the
I would be the champ. But also, we are in a very intricate business that not many people understand. You understand it better than most do, who are not actually in the sport, as far as an athlete or a coach or a manager. But there's so many people who just don't understand the little nuances and idiosyncrasies going on behind the scenes. So, we'll see. I would definitely be okay with it. We'll put it that way.
Speaking of which, can I ask, what did you think of this past weekend? All the craziness. Nate, Khamzat, talk about a guy missing weight. Khamzat misses weight. Nate gets the more favorable matchup, and now it seems like he's going to go your route, test free agency, but obviously leaving the UFC. Just your thoughts on what transpired, because it was one of the craziest 24 hours in UFC history.
It was, it was one of those moments, and it doesn't happen too often. It's one of those moments where you just keep refreshing your Twitter. You're like, okay, what's Ariel saying? What's this guy saying? What's that? Because you're trying to figure out what's going on. And then, so obviously the press conference, then the weigh-ins, then the shuffling. It's crazy. I think the matchups changing and shifting like they did, 6 different guys were affected by that. And then I think we still got a great main event. I think honestly, a more competitive main event. Definitely a better deal for Nate Diaz. Probably a better deal for Tony Ferguson, honestly, from an eyeballs and a platform standpoint. Lee and D-Rod, I think, took the biggest hit, if you will, or the biggest, kind of gamble, if you will, but they still stepped up. I'm sure they got paid. I'm sure they got paid more. I'm sure they got taken care of. This is one thing that a lot of people don't understand as well. Everybody wants to talk about the big bad UFC and the big bad Dana White. If you do things right, if you show up, you exceed expectations, you will be taken care of. And I don't think there was anybody on the planet that envied Dana White, Hunter Campbell, Sean Shelby, Mick Maynard that night when they were trying to figure out what the heck they were going to do to salvage a card that literally got a grenade thrown in the middle of it. It's those moments why they are where they are, and they pulled through and they did some shifting around, and we got a good card out of it.
Agree with everything.
And might I add,
yeah,
I'm going to get called a brown noser and a bootlicker for this, but I watched the media scrum. Dana White, not one time did he say, these guys are idiots. They're off the rocker. I can't control these guys. They're dummies. They're fighters. What do you expect when fighters get in a room? He took the hit the entire time. We didn't have enough security. We didn't have enough people there. We were not prepared. We fell short. And that's what a good leader does. So I'm going to get called a bootlicker and a brown noser for that. But I watched it and I thought, that's what the cream of the crop does when you're running a business. You don't blame other people. You take 100% ownership of it. And once again said, we will be more prepared next time.
Agree with everything you said. I thought he handled that post-fight scrum. That was the presser scrum on Thursday.
Yeah, presser.
Yeah, handled that very well. And I agree with what you said about the event. The one thing that I thought was interesting, just to retort, was he actually was asked if everyone got taken care of, and he said no. He said they all have contracts. They're going to accept the fight. Here's the thing. They were taken care of. I know this for a fact because, I talk to people. And so why would you not tell the truth about that? Because you don't want to set the precedent for other guys to ask you for money. But that's the one thing I'll push back on what you just said. It'd be like, why don't you just say, hey, we took care of the boys. They did us a favor, 24 hours notice. We wanted to help these guys out. What's wrong with that?
I don't know. Maybe, I think it in some alternate universe, it actually kind of makes sense. I think it does. But like you said, I've heard the same thing too, where I'm like, why would you not admit that right now? Because that actually makes you look good. And
yes,
all everybody does is throw darts at you and throw venom at you. So all that to say, once again, I will always get called a brown noser, but I know some things that behind the scenes where I'm like, okay, they're a well-ran organization who takes better care of people than people actually think they do. But I always love the best kind of gifts are the ones that you don't expect anything in return, and the ones that you don't gloat about. And that's just true in life, in business, in relationships, and everything. So it kind of makes me respect him even more that he did go out there and gloat.
Well done. You think Nate's making the right choice by leaving?
Shoot, man. Yeah, I do. I really do. There was a moment there where I threw my name in the hat for the Diaz fight, obviously, because as I said, my number one goal is to become the number one guy in the world. That also comes with notoriety. Fighting Nate is a big fight, but obviously my number one goal is always fight the next guy in line who's going to get me to the title shot. Dustin Poirier is that guy for me to get to the title shot. But I think Nate's got a plethora of options. The guy is a huge draw, a big name. He is intriguing. He is interesting. People want to see what he's going to do. I've heard a couple different takes on what he's going to do. Obviously there's a couple low-hanging fruits out there, a couple obvious options. And then also the greatest thing too, even with all the the middle fingers to the man and the water bottles thrown, he still said, I'm going to come right back here to the UFC. Now, why would Nate, number one, say that? Or why would he want to do that? Even if there's a little bit of tension right now. So it just goes to show this is the place to be. This is the big show. So it's, he's going to go out. He's going to have a little bit of fun, do some other sports or whatever he said. And we'll see Nate in the UFC later on down the line.
Just curious your thoughts on Tony Ferguson since you just fought him. What do you think he should do? I mean, I know it's a weird question because everyone's career is different. You could do what you want. No one wants to be in this spot. Hey, you should retire this, that. And to his credit, I was just saying this earlier, didn't get beat up in this fight, didn't get knocked out like you knocked him out, but still it's 5 in a row and clearly on the back end of the career. So what do you want him to do? Or if you were advising him, what would you advise him?
Yeah, honestly, Ariel, you have too big of a platform for me to interject my opinion. I never want to tell a man what to do with his career. I love Tony as a fan of what Tony has done. He's been an absolute ridiculous joy to watch over the last however many years he's been in the UFC. Obviously, getting to compete against him was awesome. I wanted that opportunity, and it came and worked out well for me. And as you said, he didn't get beat up. And honestly, I would say he was winning the fight in a lot of ways. I think that fight goes 2 more rounds, and he keeps chewing up Nate's front leg. That fight goes to the scorecards, and it wasn't as dominant of a victory as a lot of people would claim the way that it actually ended with Nate actually submitting him. But never want to tell a guy what to do, but I do wish him the best. I hope he does. It'll take a little bit of time off. It is pretty crazy that he just fought this past weekend. I'm not fighting for 9 weeks, and he was the one, who lost consciousness in our fight. So definitely take some time off. Let your body heal a little bit.
Back to Dustin. Can I make a request? Can you take this request and send it to the powers that be? If they tell this story the right way, like the real behind the scenes stuff, I feel like this could be one of the biggest fights of the year. Like the whole thing of you coming over and you were going to be the backup fighter for the title fight, and he was unhappy, and the negotiations, and then that moment at the press conference where you guys are both backstage and he just beat Conor and you just beat Dan Hooker, and the tension there, and you're like two alpha males. It's like old school wrestling tournament guys who just kind of like respect each other but want to beat each other. Like if they tell this the right way, I feel like this could be an incredibly big, like as much heat, if not more heat than the main. I'm being honest, because both of you are so popular as opposed to Izzy, who's gigantic, but Alex is a little newer to the scene, Alex Pereira. Will they tell this story? Will we get the real deal, heat here, or are we going to get the sort of G-rated version?
I think they will. I mean, if there's one thing that we've seen that the UFC is really good at, it is storytelling, and it is hyping up fights. So we'll see. There's some stuff that was caught on their cameras. There was some stuff that were caught on Gilbert Burns' camera. Somehow he was the only one. I guess he was the closest right there. So hopefully they pay Gilbert for that footage from his phone as a media member. But I think they will. They do a very good job of painting a picture. They do a very good job of making people feel something as we are going into, the countdown show, into the fight week stuff. Countdown show is going to be coming down here next week, I believe. So the one-stop shop down here, because Dustin's 15 miles from me, and I'm down here training as well. So it should be pretty easy, and maybe they'll bounce back and forth and see how we're both reacting to the scenario.
You said it's not personal for you. Do you think it's personal for him?
I do. I don't think it's personal towards me. I think it's personal because of me, but not towards me, if that makes sense. What do you mean by that? I think Dustin's been the guy for a very, very long time. And I was a guy who came in and have done what I've done. So I don't think it's actually directed necessarily towards me personally, just this figure of this guy who is me stepping inside the cage. Like you said, from the backup fight to the press conference where he said he didn't want to fight me. It wasn't necessarily Michael Chandler. It was the guy who came over, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And if I know Dustin, or if Dustin's anything like me, I could care less who I'm actually fighting. To me, it's a guy about my size with 2 arms and 2 legs who's got some abilities, and he's got an agenda. His agenda is to beat me. My agenda is to beat him. And I don't think he sees me whenever he's standing in front of me. I could be wrong. That's how I kind of navigate the waters of fights. It's not an actual person. It's just a guy with 2 arms and 2 legs with some abilities and an agenda to beat me.
Any relationship with, I mean, you guys have been around a very long time. Did you guys ever have any kind of relationship?
Yeah, I mean, well, twice now. The second time was whenever we, he yelled at me at the.
That's it.
But the first, yeah, well, no, but the first time was actually my last fight on my Bellator contract. I was at Mohegan Sun, about ready to fight Benson Henderson. It was the day or two before the fight, and we both, high-fived. Hey, man, been looking forward to meeting you down the line. I'm a big fan of you. Oh, hey, I'm a big fan of you. Congratulations on all your success. It was very, very, very cordial. And I think that's where this whole dust up happened happened at the fights. Was basically I was very respectful to him and very nice to him, which I meant every word that I said. And then once we both kind of got in the same organization, tensions started rising. And I don't know if I like that guy as much as I did now, because he's now a competitor of mine. So I think that's where it comes from. But I think he's got respect for me. I got respect for him, and we're both 2 of the top guys in the world. So we're just going to go out there and duke it out.
You got a lot going on. I saw you were just in Iceland, looked incredible. And I know, I'm a big peanut butter and jelly fan myself. It's like my number one thing. And I see you talking about this new snack situation. Can you tell me about this? Because I even ordered it off your Instagram yesterday, believe it or not, as did Connor, my guy back there. So we're going to have it here at some point. It's a 4-hour show. I get very tired towards the end, so I feel like this will give me a boost. So tell me what this is over here. We're showing some photos right now as you speak.
Nice. Yeah, no, it's a perfect on-the-go snack. So it's called CRAMnutrition.com, and it is the PB&J reinvented. There are some other similar products on the market, but when I tell you that ours is packed with not only nutrients, but protein, 100% sprouted organic and fermented bread. So it's lower in gluten. It's 100% fruit jelly. So there's not a bunch of added sugars. Obviously you being a father, myself being a father, kids love PB&Js. So I want to feed them CRAM because we actually have really good nutrient complex inside of it. They are so much more of a healthier version, spin off of the old school Uncrustable that is should not be putting in your body. So I've become an owner of CRAM Nutrition.
Oh, wow.
It's Austin and Ruth, the co-founders. They are based out of California. They are the brainchilds of this thing. They started it out of a little shop up in California. Now we are nationwide in Sprouts stores. I don't know if you have Sprouts in New York.
Yeah.
But we are now nationwide in Sprouts stores, Erewhon Market. Obviously, we do a lot of sales off of our website. And man, I'm just excited to if you know anything about me, I love to train hard. I love to eat right. I love to get as much as I possibly can out of this body. I'm almost 37 years old. So I've done a pretty decent job of taking care of my body, putting the right nutrients and the right fuel into my body. CRAM Nutrition will be part of my training camp when it's a perfect on-the-go snack, because come get them frozen, throw them in your bag, a little bit icy, a little bit cold. They stay on the shelf for numerous days. We actually found a way to add an enzyme to them, a naturally occurring enzyme. So there's no preservatives, but it increases the shelf life because of a naturally occurring enzyme. So I'm excited about the people behind it. I was excited to be a part of the family, and I'm excited for everybody to try it because they are absolutely delicious.
I'm excited to try it as well. What's the website?
CRAM Nutrition, KRAM Nutrition.
.com.
So right now we have sample packs, or we just launched this week in Sprouts nationwide. So they might even be in a Sprouts store near you. And from there, we're going onward and upward. We're going to hit every single retail store in the country. Worldwide.
You need to do me a favor. I swear to God, this happened literally yesterday. I'm driving and I'm talking to mutual friend Daniel Cormier. I swear this happened. And he says to me, have you ever tried this thing called Uncrustables? And I said, yeah. He goes, I swear. Talk about, on point, right? And he's like, I love this. I'm going to buy some more right now. I can't stop eating this. And then I knew I was talking to you later in the day and I was reading up about this. I was like, holy crap, like someone needs to get this to DC. I think he's had enough Uncrustables for a lifetime.
Absolutely.
So you need to hook up DC.
Absolutely. Well, number one, I have no idea how he has just now tried Uncrustables. They've been around forever.
I know.
But as we continue to innovate and as we continue to put more research into what we're actually putting in our bodies, that's what Austin and Ruth did. They said, hey, this idea is a great idea, but the ingredients and the quality is crap. Let's make real fruit jelly. Let's make 100% Valencia peanut butter. Let's make it low in gluten. Let's make it 100% sprouted fermented bread. I've talked to, obviously I'm connected to a ton of people in nutrition and diet and research. I want to get as much longevity out of my body as I can. And everybody that I've sent it to have said the nutrition profile is absolutely bonkers. So it's pretty cool. I'm excited for everybody to try it. CRAMnutrition.com, CRAM with a K. And I hope you get some very soon. And maybe I'll hop back on and we can share a CRAM together. We can do a CRAM review together.
In New York, when you're here for Fight Week, please come by the studio. We can have a little snack together, okay?
Now that's a good idea. Now you're talking, man. You're cutting promos and you got a promo already set up. Let's go, man.
Just trying to, build some hype. Last thing before I let you go, good luck with CRAM. Good luck with the fight. I don't wish you luck on Monday. I'm sorry for your loss. My Buffalo Bills going to lay the smackdown on your Tennessee Titans. I just want to throw that out there because it's not going to be close. I just want to let you know.
Hey, the Bills are looking good, but I'm going to tighten up, baby.
Okay.
I'm going to be here watching it by myself. So, shoot me a text. I'm going to shoot you a text every single time we move the ball 1 yard.
Yeah, exactly. Deal. Good luck with that.
Michael 10 to 1 text Chandler. Remember? So I got to make up.
I know you are. That is stuck. Although you got a little better after that. I don't know if it was a self-conscious thing or whatnot, but I do appreciate the rapidity in which you reply. So thank you very much, Mike. Good luck to you. Be safe out there in Florida. Good luck with CRAM Nutrition. Can't wait to try it. And good luck as you train for this massive fight November 12th. Appreciate your time as always.
Thank you so much for the time. Appreciate you, Errol. I'll see you in November.
Yes, sir. See you at the top as well. There he is, Michael Chandler, joining us. Big fight for him, November 12th.